let's get more perspective on what happened and what we can expect in the future. Former FBI agent Tony Charbot back here on the morning show. Appreciate you being here. People are sitting back and they're questioning whether or not this was an act of terrorism, whether or not it was workplace violence. Either way you cut it, it's terrorism. ISIS support in this country is growing. There was a poll that substantiated that came out 2 short days ago. Do we expect more people to be copycats of these terrorists if in fact they're not terrorists themselves in the traditional sense?
I think we have to prepare for that, certainly. And it's well known that there are a number of investigations nationwide on terrorism. This certainly appears to be terrorism, workplace violence, terrorism. What happened here is to kill en masse, and that is terrorism. I see this as a copycat to Paris. There are a lot of similarities with what happened in Paris, from the vests to the long guns to obvious planning. It is a smaller tactical unit than what was in Paris, but a small tactical unit nonetheless. It's interesting that it was a husband and wife. I think that's very, very interesting and very different than what has been seen in the past.
What does that tell you?
Well, it tells us, now initially law enforcement was looking for a lone wolf, right? That's a needle in a haystack. Now you're looking at small tactical groups. So we're seeing new models. I have to wonder what the platform is that ISIS is using to inspire, but it certainly seems that there is some consistency here with the ISIS-inspired incidents that we've seen in the past.
And because these incidents are growing, because some of these people are very sophisticated when it comes to the use of technology, does that hamper law enforcement's efforts to try and track all these things?
Yeah. So law enforcement always follows legal process, and that's something I think the public has to understand. And there are some, the concern has been going dark, that law enforcement is not going to be able to track the technology as well, that the encryption that is out there, it's going to be more and more difficult, that data won't be stored as long. And so that is going to hamper law enforcement in piecing together the investigation, piecing together the network. So it's really important that those allowances are made for law enforcement using legal process.
Now, these people were wearing GoPro cameras.
Mm-hmm.
They theoretically had pipe bombs available that they were going to set off, detonate using a remote-controlled device. They wanted to share everything. Mm-hmm. What insights do we get into their mindset or where they may have been coming from that?
Well, I'm not a profiler, but I think, again, it's consistent with what we've seen with the ISIS-inspired, that it can be shown then over and over as an accomplishment, and they will continue, it will continue. It may inspire others.
But I think it also tells us they had a clear and specific intent to kill. Did they overestimate their ability?
I think they did overestimate their ability, and they underestimated the quick, coordinated response of law enforcement. But they did go with the intent to kill en masse and to keep themselves alive as long as possible, and they did that. What's concerning to me, and again, we're seeing more and more, I think, in this country, is that secondary piece, and that is the, where law enforcement is going to respond and understanding the logical investigative steps that law enforcement is going to take, setting those booby traps so that there is continued killing even if they are caught.
And I think the other lesson learned here is that law enforcement can only do so much, that corporate America also has to take some responsibility and give people active shooter training. Tony, thanks for being here. Appreciate your perspective.